Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live. He's the chairman of the American Conservative Union and a former deputy political director in the Bush White House to discuss the upcoming primaries and where this race could turn. Please welcome Matt Schlapp to the program. Matt, thanks for being here. Pleasure. I want to start. You heard Ted Cruz earlier. We discussed this fraud allegation that Trump has made against him. Ben Carson saying evangelicals should consider this when they're voting. Now, the emergence, we just learned, of these voicemail messages to Cruz staffers. How damaging is this to him among that base of evangelicals?
Well, whenever you have these types of things that come out in a campaign, you really have to get to the facts. And there's a lot of people out there who could have made these calls. It could have been something from some kind of a nonprofit or an outside group, but it also could be from the Cruz campaign. And so that's what they have to determine. If it's from the Cruz campaign and it's clearly something that's fraudulent, I think they got a problem.
Well, they said, he said earlier, and he's been saying, we heard a report on CNN. We reported it. There was no harm, no foul here. Others are seeing it differently.
I think when Ted Cruz came out and said, look, we made a mistake when we repeated this CNN report that Ben Carson was dropping out, I think he handled it perfectly. The question is, are there now more facts? And let me tell you one thing about Ben Carson. He was not really suspending his campaign, but he kind of was suspending his campaign.
Yeah, he took a day off.
He took a day off. You know, he got some clothes and he went to Florida, so that was a little bizarre, too.
There's a new CNN poll. Trump 29, Rubio 18, Cruz 15 in New Hampshire. Now, there's a 6-point margin of error, so...
It's a big margin of error, small sample.
Yeah, 300 people.
That's
so,
right.
How much can we read into that? Who knows?
It's all about the trend.
Yep. I want to play something for you. This is Donald Trump today in New Hampshire. He's returning to the issues that propelled him to the top of the field. At one point, an immigration activist stood up and suggested that immigrants are the backbone of the country.
No, I don't think so. They're not the backbone. You know what? I'll tell you what. That's okay. We don't need help with these folks. Let me just tell you something. You know what the backbone of our country? People that came here, and they came here legally. People that came to this country legally, and they worked their ass, and they've made the country great. That's the backbone.
How does this play, Matt?
You know, I think that's actually kind of a beautiful answer. I mean, Mark Levin always says that we're not a country of immigrants. We're a country of people who used to be immigrants or are now Americans. And I think, look, I come from immigrants. It's a beautiful story. It's the American story. But it's the American story. And I think if we can get that right, and I think Donald Trump connects to people who say, look, in the end of the day, we're all Americans.
We've heard so much about Donald Trump. I mean, he really has set the narrative for so much of this. When he came out of Iowa and began that tweet against Cruz saying he engaged in voter fraud, we should have a recount, I thought, the moment I saw it, forget whether the allegation is true or not true, now we're seeing other facts come forward. Donald Trump is once again controlling the narrative and sending the media after him. He always wins when this happens. He always stays at the top of the poll.
And he will go to a place that none of us would go. And oftentimes, his judgment is right because it turns out to be true. Now, I don't know if this is going to turn out to be true, but he does have an instinct that is amazingly good in politics.
I know. I've never seen anything like it, I dare say you haven't either. I want to talk about Marco Rubio. Marco is jockeying now with Ted Cruz for the number 2 spot in New Hampshire. He's positioning himself as the person best poised to defeat Hillary Clinton in the fall.
There is a reason why Hillary Clinton attacks me 5 times for every time they attack any other Republican. Because she doesn't want to run against me, but I can't wait to run against her.
What's happening with Marco Rubio? Can he use Iowa to propel himself? He's in the number 2 spot. How long can he sustain that, given the fire he's under?
Look, I think when you look at these polls, people look at the ballot. They want to see what numerical value each candidate has. But what you really want to look at in polls are the trends and the characteristics voters are looking for. Marco's on a great uphill trajectory, and that can he keep it going? That's the big question. The real point, though, is that Marco actually hurts Trump as he grows. A lot of people are assuming he's hurting Ted Cruz, and I don't think that's right.
I have to share this with you. Digging into that CNN poll, and this is interesting. Trump has also been ruled out by more likely voters than any Republican in the field. 37% say they would never vote for him. Cruz is second on the score, with 13% saying they'd never vote for him, followed by Bush at 7%. Rubio probably benefits from that as well.
Oh,
trend.
there's no question. And I think it is true that the Hillary Clinton folks do fear Marco Rubio's ability to pull in voters that the Republican Party has a little trouble with. I think they also know Donald Trump could do that, too. Who do they really want to run against? I think they really want to run against Ted Cruz. I think they feel like he's more boxed in terms of where he can go.
And they can demonize him easier. I have to play this for you. Bush, Kasich, and Chris Christie have been pounding Marco Rubio coming out of Iowa. Governor Christie called him the boy in the bubble, which only you and I realized was the John Travolta movie.
Right.
We're aged here. But now he's released an ad featuring Rick Santorum, who just endorsed Rubio the other day. Watch this.
What do you list as Marco Rubio's top accomplishment that made you decide to endorse him?
There's a guy who's been able to, number one, win a tough election in Florida.
Can you name his top accomplishment?
My feeling on Marco is someone who has tremendous potential, tremendous gifts. I guess it's hard to say their accomplishments. I mean, what you
Name one thing that he's passed.
The Republicans have been a majority for 1 year and 1 month, of which, as you know, he was running for president primarily.
Well, just one that Marco achieved, maybe a bill that he wrote.
Jeb Bush ran Florida. Donald Trump built a company. Marco Rubio finished the sentence.
You can't point to him and say, well, nothing got done, and therefore he has no accomplishments. So this is a bogus argument.
All I'm asking is a simple question. List one accomplishment that Marco Rubio has achieved in 4 years in the United States Senate.
The bottom line is there isn't a whole lot of accomplishments, Joe, and I just don't think it's a fair question.
I'm Chris Christie, and I approve this message.
Wow. I mean, it is ugly out there.
That's right.
Ugly. How does this land on the ears and eyes of New Hampshire voters? Are they looking for someone with accomplishments who can really, or does Marco's fresh face and the promise, is that enough to get him over the line?
New Hampshire has often run some version of the man walks in the snow and leaves no tracks. That's a hard thing for Rick Santorum because wherever Rick Santorum goes, he leaves tons of tracks and gets got tons of things done in the Senate.
Yeah.
So this was a moment of honesty. But remember, the political moment is not about the years you've spent in the Senate getting things done. Our political moment today is, will you go into Washington with little experience and take a 2x4 to it? And that's who they want. That's why the experience meter is low this cycle. The longer you've served in office, the less likely they want you.
Interesting. I got to play this. Jeb Bush, the presumptive leader when this started, the man with the biggest ability to raise money, a good man, a proven track record, a conservative track record in Florida. If you want experience, as someone told me, if you like Marco Rubio, you're going to love Jeb Bush. This guy actually ran a state and did everything. Yet, this is Governor Bush in New Hampshire. Watch.
I won't be a divider-in-chief or an agitator-in-chief. I won't be out there blowharding, talking a big game without backing it up. I think the next president needs to be a lot quieter, but send a signal that we're prepared to act in the national security interests of this country to get back in the business of creating a more peaceful world. Please clap.
Is this the end of Governor Bush? Are we seeing the end of his?
We're going to see how he does in New Hampshire. My guess is that we're going to see how he does in South Carolina. And then I think he's going to have to make a real tough decision based on these results. But the saddest thing for Jeb Bush is that I think he has missed what the political moment is. He believes that it's the model where you demonstrate that you're responsible and you're calm and you can work with the other side. And Republicans are so frustrated about what Obama has done, the contraception mandate, Obamacare, the Iran nuclear deal, everything he has done that's been so outrageous. They are not in a mood to just gently put your hand out to the other side. They want to slap that hand on the other side, and they want us to take our country back.
Bernie Sanders is moving ahead of Hillary Clinton exponentially. It's growing by the day in New Hampshire, which could really imperil her and wound her coming out. Did you ever imagine we'd see this? But it seems it's the same electorate. They don't want an insider.
Raymond, I was in a coffee shop in Iowa, my wife and I. Hillary Clinton came in to campaign on Election Day, and she came in and out of that coffee shop. She probably shook 3 hands and took 2 pictures. Most of the people she never talked to. She is a dreadful and a miserable candidate. She might be a good woman, I don't know her, but as far as a candidate, she lacks some serious skills. I think her husband got all the skills in that relationship.
He was amazing. I covered that White House. I need to talk about a 3-man race. Let's face it. What we're probably looking at here is Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz. in that race, how do things progress as we move into the southern states? Look, I witnessed myself these Trump rallies. Thousands of people waiting outside of coliseums in Mississippi and Alabama. Thousands. Right. I've never seen anything like it. And I just drove by. It was amazing to watch. What impact does that kind of phenomenon have on the party? And secondly, does it allow Donald Trump to say, you want Washington? You want a one-term senator again? There they are.
That's right.
You want somebody who's going to change things and kick over the tables? Here I am.
That's exactly right. And what we have to learn first is this energy, this enthusiasm for Donald Trump. This is a great thing for the Republican Party. There are more eyeballs on our process and on these debates and in everything that's happening on television and in the newspaper and everywhere else than we've ever seen. And what the party is making a mistake in doing is saying it's bad. Who are these people, these sometime Republicans coming into our party and trying to boss us around who our nominees should be? We should be embracing these voters. This is how a party expands. They come in on a couple of issues they care about, and they want more, and they learn, and that's what we need for our party.
Matt Schlapp, thanks for being here.
Great to be here, Raymond.
We'll have you back.